Hi everyone, my name is Haley Schluter and I'm on Team Response Mojo Jojo. This hackathon I researched peer-to-peer networks, a great example being BitTorrent, but the ones that I focused on are Dat and Scuttlebutt, which both have funny names. So the way that we currently experience the internet as we know it is in a centralized fashion, where we have servers that people are talking to, and that server can broadcast out that same data to anybody who has access to it. For example, Google Drive, AWS, the cloud in general, Facebook, Reddit, you're submitting content, it's owned by that server and it's being delivered to others. The disadvantages of that is that there's a power dynamic there, where our content is not our own anymore. It's owned by the companies that we submitted it to. Our data is not private. It's used by those companies to make money, right? It can be censored by governments or otherwise. A great example being like the Chinese government can tell Reddit to take down a post, and they'll do it. The users of peer-to-peer networks, or people who are interested in them, they understand that the internet does not have to be run through these services that we're so used to running through. And they're trying to find ways to make that work for them, where they can connect to people without having to depend on a centralized service. So that's what a decentralized network would be. So if I can send a file from me to a friend without anything in between, it's just peer-to-peer. So the first protocol I looked into was Dat, and it's a really interesting concept where anybody viewing a website is also helping host that website. And that's accomplished because over Dat, when you're viewing a website, you are downloading the files that you're viewing. So it's not like you're downloading an entire website as soon as you visit that page over Dat, but you are downloading the files that are on that page, and you can help host those files to other people. So it can infinitely scale. If we're talking about me competing with YouTube, for example, over Dat, I wouldn't need to worry about server size, which is really cool. I think the problem with Dat is security, because you're literally downloading files in order to view them and help host them. And you'd have to really trust the people whose websites you're visiting. And even if you do, who knows whether they didn't accidentally pick something up, right? Some malware. So in that regard, that is a little fishy to me, and that's why I did all of my research in a VM. Another thing I noticed is that single page applications like those built in React would perform horribly in Dat if I were to do that, because you'd have to download this gigantic minified JS file, and that is just that does not support splitting up into little pieces to help host, right? So that would be a big concern. People would have to move away from what they're used to in some fashion, and maybe they'd have to start worrying about the size of their websites, which I think is a good thing overall. The other protocol I looked into is Scuttlebutt, and that was invented by a sailor in New Zealand who lived on a boat and had a really bad internet connection. And he was also really sick of using Facebook to connect with friends, because he was always changing the feeds and it was changing how it looked, and he just wanted something different. So what he came up with was, when you're on the same network as someone, like the same Wi-Fi or the same LAN, then you can swap information through the Scuttlebutt protocol. And that name comes from, it's like essentially the water cooler of a ship. It's where you keep the fresh water. So people gossip over the water cooler. That's where you share your information. But you'll only get new information or send your information when you're back on the same network as the people that you're connected to. So it's very decentralized, so much that they actually had to invent pubs. And that comes from the real word pub, where people come together and they connect. But it's essentially a server that you can get onto the same network as other people and connect with them and swap your information. The cool thing about Scuttlebutt is that there's no entity that even knows how many people are using this protocol, because it's so split apart. It could be completely under the radar and using their own product that isn't publicized, and people can still communicate person to person. All in all, I really, really enjoyed this research and looking into this crazy world that I had never even thought of before. And it helped me open my eyes to the internet can be different from what we're experiencing now. And I think the world is coming to realize that they want it to be different. And eventually, I can see us moving towards a model that is more peer-to-peer, less centralized around huge companies, and more focused on connecting with the people that actually matter to us.